Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon and one of the richest people in the world, often found himself at the center of debates about working conditions in his warehouses. Stories of grueling hours, exhausting quotas, and robotic oversight had become media fodder. In response to growing criticism, Jeff decided to take matters into his own hands, not with a press release or a public statement, but by stepping into the shoes of his employees. For one day, Jeff Bezos would become Jim Baker, an entry-level warehouse worker. Disguised in plain work clothes, steel-toe boots, and a high-vis vest, Jeff arrived at an Amazon warehouse at 7 a.m. sharp. He carried a simple lunchbox and introduced himself as Jim Baker, a middle-aged man looking for work after a divorce. With his head already famously bald and a slightly scruffy look, no one suspected his true identity. Jeff's cover story was simple: a man trying to rebuild his life by taking a stable job. After filling out paperwork under his fake identity, he attended an orientation session along with a group of new hires. A senior worker named Maria, a no-nonsense single mom, was assigned as his trainer. "Listen up," Maria said as she walked Jeff and the others through the warehouse. "This is where the magic happens. But it's hard work. You'll be on your feet for hours, moving fast, meeting quotas. If you can't handle it, this might not be the job for you." Jeff nodded, eager to dive in. By 8 a.m., Jeff was at his station. His first task, picking. With a handheld scanner in one hand and a cart in the other, his job was to locate, scan, and pack hundreds of items scattered across the massive warehouse. The scanner beeped instructions relentlessly, demanding efficiency and speed. Within the first hour, Jeff realized how challenging the job really was. The warehouse was enormous, like a labyrinth of shelves stacked with everything from books to electronics. He hustled between aisles, constantly glancing at his scanner, which flashed red every time he fell behind on his quota. Sweat poured down his face as he tried to keep up with the pace. Around him, other workers moved with practiced efficiency, barely stopping to breathe. Maria noticed Jeff struggling and offered some advice. "You gotta focus on speed, Jim. But don't burn yourself out too early. It's a marathon, not a sprint." Despite Maria's encouragement, Jeff was exhausted by the time the first break rolled around. He had barely met half his quota and was already feeling the strain in his legs and back. During the 15-minute break, he collapsed into a plastic chair in the break room, surrounded by employees gulping down water and snacks. The room buzzed with muted conversation, but there was an undercurrent of weariness. Jeff struck up a conversation with Maria, who had been working at the warehouse for 3 years. "It's tough work," Maria admitted. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week sometimes. I've got 3 kids at home, so I don't have much of a choice." Another worker, Carlos, chimed in. "Yeah, but the quotas, man. They keep pushing them higher. I'm saving for college, but some days it feels like I'll never get there." Jeff listened quietly, taking in their stories. These weren't numbers on a spreadsheet. These were people with dreams, families, and struggles. After the break, Jeff returned to his station, determined to do better. He picked up the pace, darting between aisles and shelves, but the relentless beeping of the scanner never stopped. He noticed that workers rarely spoke to each other on the floor. It was all about speed and efficiency. Midway through the day, Jeff witnessed something that deeply affected him. A young worker named Jake, who had recently returned to work after a back injury, was struggling to lift a heavy box. Despite being clearly in pain, Jake pushed through, afraid of falling behind on his quota. "Hey, you need help?" Jeff asked. Jake shook his head. "If I stop, they'll flag me for being too slow. Can't risk it." Jeff felt a pang of guilt. This was his company, his creation. Was this the price of efficiency? As the day wore on, Jeff began to notice the sheer toll the work took on everyone. By the end of the shift, his feet were sore, his back ached, and his hands were raw from handling packages all day. Despite his best efforts, he had barely met the minimum quota, while Maria and others surpassed it with ease. During the final break, Jeff sat with Maria and Carlos again. Maria's phone buzzed. A picture of her kids popped up on the screen. She smiled but quickly put it away. "They're the reason I do this," she said. "It's not easy, but it's a job." Carlos nodded. "Same here. I just hope I can save enough for college before I burn out." Jeff sat silently, the weight of their words sinking in. These were hardworking people giving their all, and yet the system seemed to demand more and more from them. At the end of the shift, Jeff stayed behind to reflect on what he had experienced. He had spent just one day in the warehouse, but it had given him a profound understanding of the challenges his workers faced daily. The next morning, Jeff revealed his true identity during a meeting with the warehouse team. The room fell silent as he stood before them in his work clothes. "I came here to understand what it's like to walk in your shoes," he began, "and what I've seen and experienced has opened my eyes. You are the backbone of this company, and I realize we can do more to support you." He announced several changes: increased wages across the board, a review of the quota system to ensure it was realistic and fair, enhanced healthcare benefits and additional paid time off, new safety protocols to prevent injuries like Jake's. The room erupted into applause, and Jeff could see the relief and gratitude on their faces. News of Jeff's undercover day as a warehouse worker spread like wildfire. It wasn't just an internal memo or a company newsletter that carried the story. It became a global headline. Media outlets praised the bold move, while social media exploded with discussions about his actions. Many saw it as a game-changing moment, a billionaire stepping into the lives of everyday workers to understand their struggles firsthand. Employees across Amazon's network began sharing their experiences, encouraged by Jeff's willingness to listen and act. But with the spotlight came scrutiny. Critics questioned whether his actions were just a public relations stunt. Jeff, however, was undeterred. He made it clear in follow-up interviews and press conferences that this wasn't about optics. It was personal. "Spending one day in the warehouse showed me how much we ask of our employees," he said during a company-wide town hall. "But it also showed me their resilience, their determination, and their humanity. It's my responsibility to ensure that they feel valued, respected, and supported, not just in words, but in tangible actions." Jeff committed to overhauling the working conditions in Amazon warehouses globally. He introduced flexible scheduling options for employees juggling personal responsibilities. Physical breaks were extended to allow workers more time to recover during long shifts. A robust mental health support program was launched, offering counseling and wellness resources free of charge. Advanced automation tools were introduced, not to replace workers, but to reduce their physical strain. These changes weren't immediate, and implementing them across a vast network took time and effort. But the results were undeniable. Productivity didn't dip as some had feared. It rose. Employee satisfaction surveys showed a significant improvement, and turnover rates decreased for the first time in years. For workers like Maria, it meant being able to come home without collapsing on the couch. And for Jake, it meant recovering from his injury without fear of losing his job. Jeff didn't stop there. He started personally visiting warehouses every quarter, sitting down with workers to hear their concerns directly. He launched an anonymous feedback platform where employees could share their thoughts without fear of retaliation. For the first time in years, workers felt truly seen. This story isn't just about Jeff Bezos. It's a testament to the power of empathy and the importance of walking in someone else's shoes. It's a reminder that even in the most challenging circumstances, change is possible when people come together. What would you do if you had the chance to make a difference in someone's life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more inspiring stories like this one.